of themes that we're now talking about, are there any themes you wouldn't tackle in a play for young audiences?
No, I don't think so. I think I would try to tackle everything that I wanted to talk about, but I would be. I think it's a question of language and a question of approach and a question of directness, I guess. Also going back to the metaphor, I think the metaphor and fantasy is quite a powerful tool, and I think a lot of our experiences are also the same experiences as children and young people have, only they have it in a different way. So I guess that's what I talk about when I talk about a sort of common ground to delve into, to find this common fascination within a subject, for example, and then try to find the form in which we talk about this subject.
Do you, I mean, you and I are about the same age and you know, still branded young theatre makers, I guess. But when I, you know, occasionally teach, you know, the people who are, you know, pre-drama school, kind of 18, 19, 20 years old, I noticed that I've grown up in a different world than they have.
Yeah.
The world has changed immensely.
Yeah.
How do you relate to that? How do you deal with that when you're looking for this common or shared experience, for example?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, in a sense, the answer is the function of fantasy or imagination is quite the same, I would presume. And so I often tend to go to the kind of non-realistic or the very fantasy kind of approach, and tend to, I don't know, peel away the kind of what do you say, the tidsmarkører,
the time markers?
Yeah, the time markers, or the sense of it being here now, but more like a kind of a non-place. I guess that's my kind of strategy. Also, I like to talk with young people whenever I can, but I don't do it actively in my writing process. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about character and the construction of character. Can characters in plays for young audiences be as complex as characters in adult drama?
Yeah, I guess so, because young people are as complex as us, sometimes even more, because they're kind of their agendas are not outspoken in a way, or they don't have an agenda. So when I write for adults, I rarely explore a character very much. I just need their agenda and the kind of language. But in a play for especially children, then I need to find out how this character explores the world or their world, and how it relates to the world around them, because those strategies are so much different when you talk about, for example, fantasy or just being fresh in life, I guess. So in my plays, I tend to work more with character in plays for children and young people than with adults.
What does this complexity of character consist of? What is a complex character?
Yeah, well, I guess a complex character is something that is not one, in a sense. It is not a singular thing. It is undefined, still formable. That is what I see as a complex character, and almost by definition, I guess, young people and children are that. Both because they are new in this world and also because they have a different language of experiencing the world and talking about the world and being in the world. So I find that very complex. Yeah.
When you create a cast design, you know, you have a number of different characters in a play. Do you work how do you work to make sure that that's a dynamic sort of ensemble of characters?
I don't work very consciously with it. Well, of course, I know if two people want different things, then suddenly there's a kind of drama. I know that, but the possibilities within the fantasy, the possibilities are so many. So it also relates to the kind of what you call the organic way of writing. I never plan on I want these and these and these characters from the beginning, but when they're there, and suddenly they often automatically come out of the desire for being in the same world as this main character. Or I don't know. It's quite abstract in my head, and I don't work consciously with it. So, but when they are in the play, a new character is in the play, then I can explore him or her a bit more systematically. But I don't think I've ever planned a cast in that way. No.
Productions of plays have very different size. You know, in theatre film audiences, you get everything from the main stage shows to the classroom theatre and everything in between. Do you think very consciously about that when you're writing?
Yeah, I like to think about the closeness to the audience in a sense. But mostly relating to how I imagine the room when I write, because that brings with it its own language for me. But in a sense, fantasy is not constricted by size, so I guess I would like all of my plays to be able to be played different sizes of stages. But I believe that something that makes theater special is the closeness to the human being, in a sense. So I often tend to think of my plays or my fantasies in a quite small way, in a sense. That being said, I think, or I hope that my plays could be played in different sizes. Yeah, but there is something with the fascination of the closeness and the fiction and the stories not being far away. In a TV, there's this it's closed off in a sense, and in theater we can just crack that open and be in the same room, and the sense of being in the same room is bigger if you can touch your audience than if you can't. So in that sense, I tend to like to write for smaller venues, I guess. But also I write plays that often have few actors but many roles, and I guess that is also connected to the closeness and the fantasy which I like, and the fascination of the tools of theater, that you can represent someone else and still be yourself. That is quite, I think that's quite an important lesson in a way.